Well, good day, everybody. All of my friends. Happy Friday. It's John Morrow, and welcome once again to Resolve to Live Forward, the podcast that is designed to reach out to and make a difference in the lives of individuals who have gone through horrific experiences in their life, struggling with grief, many different types of factors that disrupt and take our lives in a direction that we don't want them to go. And it's not a question of the fact that we can avoid them, because the truth is there are things we can't avoid. They're going to happen. It's really something that is kind of wired into the whole process of being alive and living from day to day. Because if you're going to engage the act of living, if you're going to be a forward living human being, you're going to run into roadblocks, deterrents, and devastating moments, which will literally bring you to your knees or even put you flat on your face. I know about those experiences and I talk about them at times, but the important thing to remember here is that intentional living forward is just that, intentionality. It's a choice. It's something that you do, not because you necessarily feel like it. You do it because it's the right thing to do. Let me read for you today's opening quote. And again, thank you for joining me here. This podcast, which is made available through Buzzsprout, the podcast hosting platform. It goes out across Spotify and the Apple Store, as well as other podcast platforms. Plus, I upload these episodes to my YouTube channel, all of it under Resolve to Live Forward. And of course, I'm John Morrow. And I hope that you'll follow me, that you'll like me, that you'll subscribe, and that you'll comment and send your advice and suggestions and recommendations and stories to me as well. It's a pleasure to be here for you. Here's my quote. You were never created to remain who you were yesterday. Life's greatest adventure is becoming who you were always meant to be. May I read that to you one more time so that you understand it in its full context? And I will make it about us. This is true of all of us if we're doing things correctly. We were never created to remain who we are and who we were yesterday. Our greatest pleasure in life is becoming the person that we are meant to be. Think about that word, becoming. Have you ever stopped to think about the difference between changing and becoming? Well, today's episode, episode 18 in this series that began on the first Friday of the month of April. Hard to believe we've already done 17, and this is number 18 coming to you. In this particular episode, the title is The Power of Becoming. The Power of Becoming. And I want to begin with an interesting question. Do you understand the difference between change and becoming, between changing and becoming? Because most people spend their lives going through the changing process and they make decisions to change, but they also have circumstances that occur in their life that force them into change, many times against their will. But think about some of these processes that we do in order to change ourselves and to have better lives. We resolve to lose weight, earn more money, read more books, exercise more, organize things around the house or in the garage or the shed. There's a whole lot of worthwhile goals that we want to set for ourselves. But these goals, if I'm being honest, have a lot to do with external things, and they're about changing what we do. But becoming is about changing who we are. And I believe this is where the transformation actually begins. I'm becoming something, and there was a time in my life when I did not imagine myself being this something or someone. I remember that time when I wasn't asking the question, what should I do next? I was asking the question, who am I now? Who am I now? Many of you know my story. I've shared it with you before. When my wife Donna passed away over 7 years ago, my world came to a screeching halt. It stopped. I wasn't just grieving my wife. No, I was grieving a future I thought that we were supposed to live together. If I had told you that during the course of my retirement years, after we finally hit that 2013 milestone of retiring from our jobs and being, quote, retired, I never once thought about the idea that I would have to live my life without my wife. It was pretty much in my mindset that I would be the first to go. And everything about what I did was trying to make sure that she had the best possible options. Now, I'm going to make a confession to you. I didn't do a good job of taking care of the possibility that it would be me moving forward alone. But one day, almost without realizing it, I stopped asking why life had changed and I began asking what kind of a man that I wanted to become because it had been changed due to a circumstance that I didn't ask for. But when I asked that question about what do I want to become, and it goes back to my power word resolve, that single question changed everything. Here's some things that I have learned that I want to share with you, and I wrote them down, and I've got the list right here in front of me, so let me read it to you. Life is constantly introducing us to new versions of ourselves. I hope that there's a good size group of people out there who cover a broad range. It's not just us old white hair people and those of us that are in the twilight of life. I hope some of you out there are in what we would call milestone moments in your life, and they can look in many, many different ways. But remember what it was like when you arrived at being a young parent, and then you raise that child, and then you send that child on to its adult life, and you're an empty nester. Have you ever been a caregiver for someone? Yes. It's a caregiver for my mother who had Alzheimer's. Obviously, if you have gone through the grieving process, you have been widowed. You were either a widow or a widower, as they call us, who are men who are living our lives without our life mate. I'm also a cancer survivor, and there are a lot of people out there that are cancer survivors, and then there are those people who are not cancer survivors. Now I'm a grandparent. I also get the opportunity to do leadership service. I get to coach, I get to mentor. And would it surprise you if I told you I'm still a student, I'm still learning because the letter L in Resolve stands for lifelong learner, and I love to learn. But none of these identities arrive with an instruction manual. They all arrive with us trying to figure a way on how to get there, and we're looking at different ways to do it. Some of it is guesswork, some of it is stuff we find out from talking with other people, but we grow into them nonetheless. And eventually we will become them. And all of those things that I was just sharing with you, a young parent, empty nester, retiree, caregiver, widow, or in this case, widower, cancer survivor, grandparent, leader, mentor, student. I've grown into all of those, and all of these are a part of the definition and the makeup of who I am. So the word becoming is a beautiful word because it assumes the process of movement while in the course of change. And it's very fluid and very organic. It also tells us that because we are not just changing, but we are becoming, we are not finished. God's not finished with me yet. Life may end in the next minute. And again, there's a good chance it won't. But while I'm in it and living it, I'm becoming something that hopefully is not just better for me, but better for the people in my life that I love and the people in my life that are going to be meaningful to me and need me to be meaningful to them. So we're under construction, everybody. There was a song called He's Still Working on Me to Make Me What I Ought to Be. Yep. And I think that is a truth that should apply to us throughout every day of our life and that we never really fully arrive. But we'll talk more about that in a moment. There is still There's still fresh paint drying in some places you haven't even discovered yet. Would that surprise you because of the becoming process? Too many people believe that age means we're done with becoming. Well, let me tell you what, I could not disagree with that statement more, my friends. I'm 76 years old and I still find myself learning something and learning every single day. And it's an incredible experience. Plus, if I get out there and I engage people, I'm discovering some amazing individuals, some amazing truths, some things not so pleasant. But the point being, you're never really going to experience the idea of becoming and how that becoming is going to make you something better unless you are engaging the very process of living on a day to day basis and living in a forward direction. So I'm still learning about myself. I'm still discovering things. I'm still growing. I'm still finding more questions to ask, but I'm also finding better answers. So that means that I am still John Morrow, age 76, widowed, retired, still becoming. And here's another truth. I hope I never outgrow this love of just becoming and growing. One of the greatest dangers that we face is not failing. The danger we face is arriving and not knowing what to do. Or worse, arriving and think that we've learned everything we need to know and there's nothing more to learn. What? Well, let me put it in context. You think you've loved enough, so therefore there's no need to love anymore. You think you've served enough, therefore it's time for you to take it off. You've dreamed enough, so whatever you've got, that's going to be it. No more dreams. When that happens, we slowly stop becoming. I call that every way, form, shape, and fashion and emotional, spiritual, financial, physical, mental apathy, and even atrophy. Growth doesn't end because we get older. Growth ends when our curiosity simply disappears. That's one of the reasons why the power word resolve and the behaviors of resolve mean so much to me. Resolve is defined as having a definite, firm plan of action, and that firm plan of action will only be realized if I am doing all 7 of the behaviors that are embodied in those 7 letters, RESOLVE. Every day, with a definite, firm plan of action in mind, with resolve, I have resilience, engagement, service, organization, learning, vision, and enthusiasm. And notice something about every single one of those words. They're all very, very active words. They are verbs. They are very much action items. None of them say you've arrived. They say you are continuing on the process of becoming what you are destined to be. And you're doing it on a day by day basis, one choice at a time. I had a quote that I shared in a previous episode, and I also used it as the theme of a Toastmasters meeting where I said success begins with a choice. I didn't say choices. I said a choice, one choice. And the thing that I've observed is that the happiest people that I know aren't necessarily the healthiest. Now, I'd be lying if I said I'm not enjoying, I think, a fairly good quality of life to be 76. And I know that there are people who are my age who are not enjoying their life. And I know people who are younger than me that are not enjoying their life from a physical point of view. But healthiness is not the only thing. And if you're like me, you're definitely not wealthy. You're wealthy in love and friends and amazing experiences and memories that just cannot be. I think about them all the time. Those memories are spectacular. But the truth is, uh, memories are wonderful, but I don't have wealth. I just have my memories. That gives me a sense of wealth. And of course, obviously, the happiest people aren't necessarily the busiest of people. But here's the thing that makes people happy is that they are continually growing. They're still asking questions. They're still finding ways to laugh. They're still reaching out and touching the lives of other and mentoring younger people who are seeking their guidance. They're still volunteering and serving. They're still reading and learning and understanding and going to places that aren't comfortable, but they're stretching themselves. They find a way to forgive even when, if the truth be known, forgiveness isn't necessarily needed. There are situations where you forgive, but you don't ask for reciprocity, and they find ways to apologize. And they also still have a mind that is full of wonder. That's part of that visionary mindset I talk about. What does all that add up to? That is the process, my friends, of becoming. Now, perhaps you've been telling yourself, I hope not, that your time's ran out. It's too late. Too late to write that book that you dreamed of writing. Too late to start a business that really is based upon the thing that you have a passion for. Too late to repair relationships. Too late to make things right and even to pay restitution if necessary. Too late to step up and volunteer without expectation of any remuneration. Too late to embrace new technology. I run into a lot of people in my particular age group because I'm a baby boomer, and baby boomers sometimes are very resistant to technology. Not all forms of technology, but certainly I would say I'm a bit unconventional when it comes to that because I really do enjoy the technology. After all, I'm doing a podcast here and I have a studio and a podcast recording facility right here in my own home. It's just how I operate. Uh, is it ever really too late to make friends? And isn't life really worth living if you have friends? Networking, relationship building, you know, I'd like to lovingly challenge you to stop thinking about these sorts of things and remember that as long as you're breathing, chapters of your life are still being written. Now, if you're a person of faith, I know for a fact that God is always writing a new sentence in my life, a new paragraph in my life, a new chapter in my life. The book is still being written. It is not a the end moment. The story is not measured on the number of pages that I've already written. It's measured on my willingness to turn the page and write yet another page. You know, I have two granddaughters. The oldest one, by the way, she'll be turning 7 in January of 2027. She was named after her late grandmother, who, by the way, she's never met, and her name is Donna. I also have a second grandma. Sorry about that. Verbal faux pas. I have a second granddaughter who, on August 15th, just a couple of weeks away, will turn 4. Now, I get over there and play with my grandgirls as much as I can. And recently I was playing with them. And one of the things I've noticed about children, they never worry about becoming. They live 100% fully bought into the now. They occupy the moment. For them, every single moment is one of discovery. What is this? What's behind something? What's up on top of something? And now it creates interesting things because this is the growth process. So remember, when you're watching children, because they really don't seem to have a fear per se, they are relentlessly fearless. It's not courage. Courage is something you muster when you know that you're fearful. These girls don't even know what fearful is. They're simply relentlessly fearless. Yep, they fall. Sometimes they laugh, sometimes they cry. I can guarantee you they try again. And sometimes when you don't want them to do it, they'll find a way to work around you and do it anyway. And somewhere along the journey into becoming adults, we develop a bad habit of finding a way of being afraid to grow. We just don't want to take the risks because we're afraid that if we try, we'll fail. We're afraid that we will be perceived as inadequate, inexperienced, unqualified. Perhaps it's time to borrow something from watching children. Have you ever noticed that they live 100% fully in the moment? They're not thinking about what's 1 minute ahead. And they don't generally dwell on the past unless that past has some kind of a pain lesson and they realize they're coming upon something that's associated with a painful moment. But what you really see with children living in the moment, living in the now, is the wonder, especially if you bring something they haven't ever seen before. Then there's that curiosity. Okay, let's take a deeper look at this. Let's start pulling things apart. Let's peel back the layers. And children find a way to laugh and be joyful, and they're joyful in a place that we can't even imagine. They just burst out loud laughing sometimes, and you're wondering, what happened? Where did that come from? And here's the thing that's most persistent about children because of their becoming process and this awe and wonder that they have in trying to experience every moment as fully as possible. They're relentless. They just keep trying. They're willing to try anything at least once. And many, many times, as I have watched my granddaughters, they keep going back, even though I admonish them, stop it. It's not safe. Oh, wow. Okay, I got a challenge for you, and it's for the forthcoming week. Don't ask the following questions. What should I accomplish? Don't ask that. Instead, ask, who am I becoming? Who am I becoming? I need to ask myself that question. Who am I becoming? Am I becoming more patient? Am I becoming more generous? Am I finding ways to smile and to express joy and be laughing at things? Am I willing to be more courageous? Am I willing to forgive even though that person didn't apologize? And to forgive without the expectation of a response. And will I choose to be more intentional, to keep taking steps one at a time to become the person that I am meant to become? You're the person you're becoming today, and that person that you're becoming today is going to determine the life that you'll be living tomorrow and with every day that is granted to you by the grace of God. I'll leave you with this. The greatest masterpiece you'll ever create is not a business. It's not a speech. And you know, I'm a communicator and a speaker. It's not a particular career. I'm not poo-pooing on these things. These are all great things. It's not even a book. I've written a book. The greatest masterpiece is the person you choose to become. That's it. You have mastered the most important fundamental thing that was created. You are unique and special. Every sunrise places another brushstroke into your hands to paint on the canvas of an incredible life. So my recommendation is paint that life wisely. Remember, resolve means, as I've said before and will continue to say, you are one who has a definite, firm plan of action. Therefore, resolve is your daily behavioral pattern. You live that pattern not by taking a bunch of things and putting them down on a to-do list. You simply do one thing at a time, one step at a time, and you do it today. You don't put it off. Here's some things that you can do. Today, encourage one person. Today, resolve to learn one new thing. Today, express to someone attitude of gratitude. Or express to someone how much you appreciate them and what they've done to make your life richer. Just become a little better than you were yesterday. The best change occurs with small steps. Remember that phrase, inch by inch, life is a cinch, yard by yard, it's very hard. Become a little better on an inch by inch, step by step basis. And always remember that you want to be a better version of you than you were yesterday. And whatever life has placed behind you, whatever life has done to you, resolve to live forward. That's what it comes down to, living forward. The title of this podcast. Closing thought. Success isn't reaching the finish line. Success is becoming the person God created you to be while you are still running the race. Wow. Thank you. I appreciate that. I hope that you have benefited from this conversation. It is my pleasure to bring it to you. Resolve to Live Forward, the podcast, is on Spotify. It's in the Apple Store, and it is on other podcast platforms. It is launched for me through the podcast hosting site Buzzsprout. The video version of this podcast will also be on my YouTube channel, Resolve to Live Forward. So I do have it available for you, not just in audio, but also in a video package. If you want to check out these sites, there are opportunities for you to comment. I would like you to please share this podcast with others who fall into that category of life has done something and you're still finding a way to intentionally live forward with hope and blessing and service, and the resolve mindset with the behaviors embodied in those 7 letters in resolve is the framework that has helped me, and I hope it can help you. And if, by the way, you are still on that journey, but you're enjoying what you're hearing here, just remember, these applications apply to daily living no matter what station of life you're in. I'm just thankful for the fact that there is a community of people out there that communicate with me who understand what loss and unexpected tragedy is like and what having things shattered is like. You get it. I get you, you get me, and we are able to be there to help other people through the power of the presence that we bring to the place, not because of what we know, but because of what we understand, because we are always becoming the best version of ourselves. Resolve to Live Forward, the podcast, is always available to you and is released normally every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you in advance for reaching out and communicating. Thank you for being with me today. And thank you in advance for planning to watch for this podcast episode again at this time next week. Until then, this is John Morrow. I always like to close with the same phrase: no matter what you do, no matter what you encounter, right now, intentionally choose to live forward. Resolve to live forward. Goodbye, everybody.